Tom, what's your take on Global Warning?
The song that pulls you into the album, incredible. These guys really did an incredible amount of work on the album. I virtually did nothing on the album.
Not true.
I just did a little guitar solo. Matt was kind enough
But you
to
provided
brush off the crumbs from the table.
More than that.
And height. You provide a lot of height. And
those visits put me in a great mood where the got done. And it's not exactly, it's more than you might think.
Listen to them for hours.
Well, Matt, since we can listen to you for hours, you tell us your take on Global Warning.
The instrumental song?
The entire track.
Kind of the same thing. I think it's the overture of the record that sets up the record. It's just more or less an intro as I see it, and which, not to belittle what an intro is, it's the intro, but it's important.
So we've all come to the conclusion that it's the intro.
I agree.
That's good. So we know that we have an intro.
It is just an introduction to the rest of the album.
What's the second track, John?
Look at the World. Well, Look at the World kind of follows right in because, Global Warning ends, and it's right. As we're setting up, look at what you're doing, then I'm saying in the second song, just look at the world, falling down around you. Are we really doing all we can do? Basically saying, like, are we doing what we can? You're going to have kids, or your kids are going to have kids, and, look at what the is going beep! Look at what the heck is going on. And so Look at the World is kind of like in a Queen. It's an old song that I wrote with my brother Chris in, I think it was 1980, 81, the verse parts, and I never did anything with it. And I wanted something kind of Queenish, kind of campy, to come in after that big bombastic intro, and that just fit. And I rewrote the lyrics, and look at the world falling down around you. It's kind of, again, just an awareness type of thing, just like, hey, are we really doing what we can do? If you think a change can wait, that's a lie. You're living a lie. Otherwise, it's like, somebody better start doing something, because if we keep going the way we're going, it's just going to be, bad.
Well, we went over a little bit of adding the cost. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add about that track and how they felt about it?
Matt, you pulled in one of your friends.
I have a lot to say about that track. I'm really happy with that track because I think I made my smartest decision on that track of all the lead guitar situations. I called someone I admire and who I think is much better than me, because the guitar solo of that song, to me, was the highway star of this record, which, as a guitar player, that means an epic solo spot where wonderful things happen when you're not singing. and I'm so happy with what my buddy Ralph Santola of X Who? X Who?
Sebastian Bach.
X Who? Death?
The Beatles. No.
Okay. Okay. Who currently plays in Obituary? Anyway,
B-52.
The best metal guitar player that I know personally. I called him in, and I was so thrilled because he did this epic solo that my ears wanted to hear. As soon as I heard the song, and I felt that I didn't have that to offer, and I was just so happy to have someone.
So the point is, you liked it, right?
It's the greatest guitar solo I've ever heard. I'm so glad.
It is great. It is great.
I'm so glad it's there. I'm a big fan of this guy, and to have my friend Ralph, who's like a, kind of a friend / icon to me, lay it down so friggin' hard. It's a life achievement for me just to have that happen. And
so I think he's trying to say he likes it. Yeah, he likes it.
I like it a lot.
So talk about, or tell me a little bit about Before I Hang, is it?
Well, Before I Hang was another song that it was actually 2 Savatage songs. The first half of it was a song called Larry Elbows that was supposed to be on the Streets album. And then the heavier parts of the song was a song my brother wrote called Before I Hang, which we had demoed up with Savatage, but we had never released it because Paul O'Neill hated the lyrics. And I refused to change them, so I basically just held on to it. The interesting thing about that song was Chris and Kevin, when I played the song for them, the original way the verses was totally different than it is on the album. It was kind of like a stop, and everything was a stop. And then I think it was Chris called me when I goes, yeah, well, Kevin and I were working on this, and we changed it around. I was like, oh, they changed it around. What did they do? So I went there the next day fearing that it was going to be something that I didn't like, and they played it for me. I was like, God, that's great. So it just worked. And then Matt, you and me worked on the Ride Out section, right? So we tagged the Ride Out on it and stuff, and it's some great unheard Chris Oliva music in there. The whole Before I Hang chorus and My Eyes Have Seen the Glory stuff is all music of his. So it's cool to have Chris part of the band from the afterworld.
And a great honor to, you know, be able to.
But it was actually, in my opinion, it was actually what Kevin and Chris did to that song, rhythm section wise, made that song happen. Because I wasn't very happy with it at first, but when they did what they did to it, it was like, wow, this is really cool. So kudos to my boys.
Kudos to you.
Kevin, tell me a little bit about your feelings on Firefly.
Firefly. Hard song to sing. Love the tune, man. I got surprised when I walked in the studio and John's like, I need you to sing the vocals on that part. I'm like, you're kidding. And I'm
I out.
So I sat there for quite a while trying to hit those notes, which were pretty high for me to sing, and got it done. But it was a good song. It's a great song. It's one of my favorite ones on the whole album, to tell you the truth. That and The Ride, and what was the other one I'm trying to think of? I can't even remember.
There's so many
We changed the names
Yeah,
constantly.
but, yeah, you know, Firefly's one of those songs.
Aren't we great?
that's
There's so
very-
many great songs.
The thing about
I mean,
Firefly,
you can sit there and literally close your eyes, turn off all the lights, and just sit there and listen to it and just get lost in that song. You know what I mean? Literally, you can do that. So, it just has that vibe to it.
the inspiration
Yeah.
from that came from a couple nephews of mine are in the military, and this is another song that has Chris Oliva music as a part of it too. But I never knew what to do the words, and I was talking to my nephews, and they were saying, you know, when they were out in battle, that apparently what happens is they're like on different sides of this big field, and they just keep firing. People just keep firing. They say that the sparks from the guns, they remind them of lightning bugs, you know, lightning bugs from up north and stuff, the bugs that fly.
Tracer bullets.
And they were also called fireflies. And they were like, yeah, it's like you're sitting there and you got your thing and you're just firing, and it just looks like a bunch of fireflies. So I was like, wow, that's cool. So the song's basically about a American soldier and a foreign soldier, two soldiers, whatever side they want to be on. And they're both kids, and they're both experiencing the same things. And it just basically says, you know, this war wasn't in my plans. You know, my life and my home is where I belong. You know, tell me why must this be? You know, all this stuff. And in the last verse, especially, where they both confront each other, and he goes, "Now I can see my opponents as scared as me," because they're both terrified. They're just kids, you know, 19, 20 years old. You know, all these things inside we both try to hide. You know, and then it just says, you know, for the world to have, the fighting must cease for the world to have peace, just live and let live, I believe. So it's basically, that was the inspiration behind it, but it's my favorite song on the album.
That's the one that Tom Morris mixed, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All 96 tracks of it.
All 96 million tracks of it.
Amazing.
There's 96 tracks on there, so it's the big epic song on the record. So
Yeah, it's like
Can't
the
wait.
Alan Parsons mix for me. It just has so many levels to it.
it's different.
Even to you to bring Alan Parsons, that's awesome.
I could listen to him for hours too.
No, that's a great reference. I like that.
He'll freak you out if you start talking to this guy. You'll be looking for hits of acid and
So tell me about the master, if you're the one to hear from. Tell me about
I
it.
love it. It once again has many different layers, and the thing I love about it is that it addresses something that all of us encounter now almost every day of our life, which is our interaction with computers, and how one simple thing can just completely screw up your day, or it can make your day wonderful. And you know, that little machine has that power over us, if we give it that. But I heard it, and I came up with alternate names, and every one of them said the exact same thing as what he came up with Master, and I love it.